everyone. Welcome to our session on how to make an impression as a self-starter in the hiring process. We have an outstanding group of leaders today to give their advice, both as hiring managers and as engineers that have successfully navigated the hiring process at various levels in the engineering career ladder. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Erin Ronenfuhr, and I'm a senior engineering manager at Faire, which is an online wholesale marketplace. Faire is a fast-growing global company, and we are always looking for talented engineers. For me personally, I've been in the tech industry for 20 years in engineering and in leadership roles. Next, I'll turn it over to Caroline to introduce herself.
Thanks, Erin. I'm Caroline. I'm an engineering manager at Bungalow, which is a startup in the housing and real estate space. We're on a mission to create a world where everybody can feel truly at home wherever they want to live. And we're currently hiring, so, if you're looking and that sounds appealing, check out our careers page.
Nice. Ricardo, can you give an introduction?
Of course, yeah. My name is Ricardo Cervantes. I'm a senior director of engineering at Everly Health, which is a digital healthcare company with consumer-initiated lab tests. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. And Andreas, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm Andres. I'm Director of Engineering at Voyager. Voyager is a platform that lets you invest in cryptocurrencies. It connects you through several crypto exchanges. Been working in tech since almost 20 years ago. Started as a developer. I'm now I moved into management, and I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. I'd like to start off the discussion by talking about what you as hiring managers look for in candidates. Caroline, I'll start with you and the idea of being a self-starter. What does this term mean to you? And is this something you look for when assessing candidates?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's not really a term that I use myself, but what comes to mind when I think about this is really like initiative and like looking for somebody with initiative. And so that is definitely something that we look for when we hire, and me in particular when I hire. So I'm really looking for people that I can trust to find useful things to work on that are going to move the goals forward for the company and for the team, and really make suggestions when they see something that could be improved. And of course that they need to understand that like balancing that with the set work that already exists, like not always just going off on their own and making up things to do.
Right.
It's always a balance there. And I think there are ways that people can demonstrate that in an interview, and like things that they've done in their past roles, and even if they're like a fresh grad or just getting into their career, like you could demonstrate this in ways in your own life. Like you don't necessarily have to pull from just work experience to show that you're a self-starter or that you can take initiative and things like that.
Nice. That's an interesting perspective, to think outside of just work experience, especially for new grads. Ricardo, I'd love to get your perspective. What's your thought process as you review candidates?
Of course, I think along the lines of what Caroline said, I'm looking for curiosity that leads to action. So it could be from the very technical to understanding exactly how the language that you're working on works, to the code bases that you're going to be interacting with, to how the business is going to benefit from any project that is going to come our way. And really what we look for in the hiring process is that demonstration, at least, for example, knowing that there's going to be a company fit. So how much do you know about us? How much can you bring examples of yourself where you communicate openly and transparently in a way that exposes information that was not known, or where there were no alignment points already discussed.
Interesting. Yeah, the curiosity is a good point. That's something we look for to at Faire, just that someone who's a lifelong learner and has a growth mindset. Andreas, what are your thoughts? I know you're experienced in putting together high-performing teams. What qualities do you look for?
Well, first of all, I think it's important for people to demonstrate initiative. That's important to me. See that they are able to take on responsibilities beyond what they do in their everyday, and also look to solve problems for their teams, even though it's not directly in their hands. Seeing people taking initiative also gives me an idea of where candidates can demonstrate potential in the future. So I can start assessing whether I can see the team scaling with these individuals. So I believe initiative is quite important for that. You would also look for some experience solving the type of problems that you are facing in your company. But I would also advise to get good at identifying potential, not necessarily skills that you're going to need right away, and getting good at it, because it is very likely that you're going to run into very good people that are not checking all the boxes today, but that will be great contributors for your organization in the future.
Awesome. So it sounds like going above and beyond is something that we all kind of look for, that being able to learn and be constantly like improving.
Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we've talked about how companies evaluate engineers that are going to fit into their organization, but it's equally important that engineers find a company that's going to be a good fit for them. It goes both ways. And I've worked on teams in the past that were really supportive and helped me grow. And honestly, finding a team like that can really be life-changing. Ricardo, you've had some pretty diverse experiences and roles throughout your career. Is there a common thing you look for when joining a team?
Yeah, there's several ways of understanding how you would fit inside of a team. And I think that the best way to learn about that is to understand how the teams communicate and past times when they've faced issues or problems and how they've been able to surpass them. So I really look for people that are asking questions about how we work, past experiences, and that are willing to bring not just their technical skills, but themselves into a space of a team of teamwork. So a well-rounded person that can bring their entire personality, their cultural background, as well as their technical skills, of course.
Nice. Do you have any advice for engineers, especially those that are kind of just starting out, on what they should look for? Are there questions specifically they should ask about? You mentioned like team communication.
Yeah, I think, for example, what happens on a day-to-day basis with the team, the projects that they're working on, the last time that they faced a problem and how they solved it, past disagreements perhaps, and an understanding of how their work affects the business objectives.
Nice. Can you share, do you have an example like from your past personally where you were part of a team that you found was a really great fit for you?
Yes. In my past, I've had the pleasure of being in several industries, but one common factor is when you have open communication with your business stakeholders. So not just your core team, but really the people that are going to be interacting with the solutions that you're building. So having a clear line of communication with them and an understanding of how you're going to track the success of the project is has been a key moment for me. Of course, being able to devote time to not just building the solution, but building the monitors around it to allow you to see your impact after the release of a project. And I feel like whenever you have all of that together in a project and within a team, and you can raise flags early and openly, even if there are risks associated with that, I feel like that's, in my past, what has worked the best.
Nice. So it sounds like if someone was looking for kind of a similar sort of role, they might ask like questions about how the product manager works with the team, how they determine or how they measure success of a feature, questions like that?
Absolutely, yeah. And above, even beyond that, not just at the product level, but going and having an understanding of who our stakeholders are beyond that product person.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. What about you, Caroline? Have you experienced joining a team that was a great match for you?
Yeah, definitely. In a previous role that I had, I really got a taste for what it was like to work with a team that was a great match. And that feeling really started like right in the interview process. Like I left the interview feeling like, you know, even if I don't get this job, I was so happy to have met these people and had this experience with them that it was worth it. I did end up getting the job and it was great. And so it was really like, it exposed during the interview, like their personalities and their values and how they treated each other came through in that process. And I found that it carried through when I worked there into the company. So it was a really good reflection of how they interacted with each other and what they cared about. And so I found that very valuable, and it was a great experience. And then when I left there, I came to Bungalow, and I was like one of the first developers on the team. Like there was like 2 or 3 of us to start. And in that position, I really got a chance to help shape the culture and of the team, and shape the values that we care about, and really finding the people that I joined with, that they were already there, had very similar values to myself, and they were very complementary. So being able to find that and then fitting that together, and then being able to grow the team into a shape that was definitely influenced by my past experience, both things that did not work well and things that did, bringing those into the team. And I feel like that was a really good experience. And then I've since like moved into management and been able to utilize my skills really well, I think, in that. And so like really finding my like niche in that team environment then has been really good. Yeah.
That's awesome. So it sounds like that your interviewers were really just like open and real, down to earth people, and that's what really drew you to that position in that role.
Yeah, and it was like a very like respectful environment. So they like treated me like a normal human being while I was in the interview process, and it was like there was no egos involved in anything, right? It was just like a lot of like back and forth chatting. Even as we were like doing technical problems and working through them, it was just like there was nothing that made me question whether it would be a safe environment to work in. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely a good point too, to be on the lookout for like certain red flags. Like if you're not enjoying yourself in the interview, are you going to enjoy yourself there 8 hours a day, every day, kind of thing? You mentioned the values at like the values of that other role, and then the values at Bungalow. Do you guys have like corporate values at Bungalow, or like team values?
Yeah, we have both actually. So we have like company-wide values that we have, and then we actually within the team worked off of that, and we kind of started and we came up with our own set of values that overlap but are slightly different, and are really core to how we work as a team, and we use those as like the basis for our like competency matrix and like how we actually evaluate team members.
Awesome. So that might be another really good like jumping off point for candidates, is to start asking about what, does the company have values? Does the team have values? What are the values? So they can kind of understand whether that's going to be a fit for what they themselves value.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And knowing whether they the company uses those as just like talking points, or whether they actually like live into those values is also very key.
Yeah, so asking for like examples kind of thing, or when was the last time, you saw this kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And then Andreas, you've been successful in a wide range of roles at numerous companies throughout your career. What's your advice for how a candidate can determine if they're going to work well with a hiring manager and with a company? What kind of questions would you advise people to ask?
Well, I think a safe approach is to ask about the things that matter to you. So, for example, if work-life balance is important, then ask about that. I would also use examples like, tell me how that is working out for you or your team, and how that's really something you live by. So find out what's important to you and then ask about those questions. I also think that it's good to know how the team and the hiring manager goes about challenges. So ask about the difficult things that the team is going through and how they're tackling them. That's also going to give you some context as to what environment you're getting into and how they tend to deal with challenges, and try to dig into it. And in general, if you can get a sense during the conversation on how open is your hiring manager about answering your questions, not like try to find whether it's a two-way street where they're as open to answer your questions as you're open to them answering their questions. That is also going to give you an idea of the person you're going to be working with. So those could be a few pointers or suggestions I would give people.
Nice. Yeah. I think if someone's not open to answering questions, that would be another potential red flag.
Yes, and you could see that they may avoid difficult questions or try to give you a non-answer. I don't enjoy those conversations particularly. I think that when the hiring manager is showing transparency about the issues, that's a better conversation as well.
Yeah. So it's interesting too. You talked about like what is valued by the candidate. So that might be like some pre-work that they could do to like do an exercise. It's like, what is important to me? Like, is it learning? Is it growth? Is it high impact? Is it work-life balance? And that, you know, it's fine to have a different value as a company and look for what is interesting and important for you.
Absolutely. And also bearing in mind that in different stages of your career, you may want different things out of the company you work for. So it's okay to ask yourself, what is it that is important to you to find with your next employer?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point too, that will change throughout, you know, different phases of your life. And that's something that even if you thought in the past, this is what I looked for a company, it's like maybe you're actually wanting something different now than in the past. That's a really good point. Okay. Now for me, a successful kind of meeting or conversation is one that has action items. So I'd love to ask the panelists for some advice on actions that engineers can take to either build new skills or demonstrate their existing skills to hiring managers. Andreas, I'll start with you. I know we all work for global companies, and especially during the last 2 years, we've seen the benefits of a distributed global workforce. Many of the people attending today's session will have English as their second language. Do you have advice for engineers that want to build their English language skills?
Yes. So I'm also a non-native speaker, so I can relate to what the process is to get confident in this kind of workplace. I can tell you, as you just said, this industry is quite friendly to us who are not non-native speakers. So one thing I want to share with everyone watching this is, you know, be confident that this is an environment where you can continue to develop those skills and where a lot of people are just very used to it. I also think that it's important that people focus on communication skills more than language skills. So being clear, being succinct is important, more important than having a clean accent. So if you have a strong accent, that's not an issue, and many of us do, and it's okay. But I would tell you that if you want, if you're looking for things to invest on for your personal development, I think this is an area that is completely worth it. Like if you can put it at the top of your list of things that you want to invest on for yourself. Developing language skills is good, and also getting yourself into experiences where you are going to gain confidence in using the language. So, if you get a chance to immerse yourself into one of these cultures where you want to gain confidence in the language, like go there, spend some time, take every opportunity you have to exercise those communication skills, and that's going to help you a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple things there that resonated with me. Definitely, I think the tech is very friendly to non-native English speakers. I think the majority of people on my team have English as a second language, and I think all of them at some point have said, like, oh, I'm really nervous about my English skills. So it's like, if you're feeling that way, probably every single other person on your team is feeling that way, and if not about that, about something else. And so it's generally people that I wouldn't have thought that they had anything to worry about for their English language skills. So you're probably better than you think you are.
I think that's true. Yes, Erin.
Yeah. And I think as well as interesting how you talked about general communication skills, and so not necessarily English language proficiency. And I think that's something that everyone can invest in themselves, and everyone can like benefit from some work in that area. All right, and then my next question is for Caroline. So in addition to being an engineering leader, you're also a business owner. Is entrepreneurship experience something that you think benefits candidates? Is that something that you think would be helpful?
Yeah, definitely. So entrepreneurship, or at least the skills associated with it, are definitely something that will benefit a candidate, and it's something that we value and appreciate when we're looking to hire. So some of the skills that I associate with it are like, or traits, are like a passion for the things that you do, having resiliency, being able to take calculated risks, knowing when to cut your losses as part of that. Really learning from your failures, as well as like skills like, planning, interpersonal relations, all of those things are very associated with a successful entrepreneur and are great for an engineer. So, you don't even have to own your own business to develop those skills, but, and I definitely would not necessarily recommend just going out and starting a business, because it is a lot of work and definitely not something you want to jump into if you don't know what you're doing, like I did. So, it maybe take the lessons from entrepreneurship, but you don't necessarily need to go out and do it yourself, but see what you can learn from it, and what you can do to gain those skills.
Nice. What about for someone that's maybe not been a successful entrepreneur? Do you think that's still worth kind of calling out? Do you think there's still lessons to learn there?
Yeah, definitely. I think especially being able to learn from your failures, so that using that as an example of what you took from that experience, and how that has helped you grow, would be an excellent way to use that.
Nice. So kind of how you frame it, right? Was this a learning opportunity for you?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Ricardo, what about you? Any advice on ways that candidates can build the skills that you're looking for at Everly Health?
Yeah, I think along the lines of what we've told with the English language and with this entrepreneurship, there's searching for alignment. And I feel like that's a crucial component of being part of a team. And so sometimes asking questions is the best thing that you can do. If something is not clear to you, it will probably not be clear for everybody. And beyond that, maybe just going down the lines of write it down, write your assumptions down, and help the team in that way, even if you're struggling with the right word to use. Also, developing a common vocabulary within the team sometimes makes even more of an impact than having complete dominion of the language. So very specific words could mean very specific things for the team itself. along the points of entrepreneurship and failure, that is something that I always focus on my interviews. It's what you could have done differently if you knew then what you know now, and what learnings you're getting from those stages, even if there's failures. So things like a past layoff or a past unsuccessful project, those typically are great things to focus on if you can talk about what you learned from that and how you took it forward.
I always ask that question as well, and not just for failures, even successes, but it's like, what did you learn and what could you have done better the next time around? Well, that's it for our time together today. That went by really fast. Thank you so much for our panelists for sharing their expertise today. I know I learned a lot, and I have some things to take away from today. I'd like to thank Nabil and the team at Terminal for all the work in putting this talk together and the whole day. And lastly, I'd like to thank each of you in our audience for attending. Hopefully you learned something new as well. And so up next, stay tuned for missionaries versus mercenaries, the difference between full-time high-impact engineering roles and contract development, which will be starting in a few minutes, but first they're going to have a quick break. So thank you, everyone.